in 2 days, I'm just gonna say, hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 6, Episode 2. And before I get started, I just want to send a big old shout out this week's Redbubble model, Stefan Palette, there with his Wilma Pride mug. God bless you on behalf of Rainbow Railroad. Thank you so much for buying a Wilma Pride item from my Redbubble page because, as you all know, well, until the end of the month. Actually, I'm going to carry it over for the next week. I think is the end of the next pay period through Redbubble. So until that comes in, any Wilma Pride sales will be donated to Rainbow Railroad. I've donated $107 so far. I'm hoping that that doubles. And by the way sales have been going, I think it's going pretty good. So thank you all who've supported Rainbow Railroad. If you'd like to support the Rainbow Railroad on your own, I've got a link to their website down below in my description box. I also have a link to my Redbubble page featuring, well, my Wilma Pride merchandise, as well as the Denise Journeau collection, which supports Rainbow Railroad throughout the whole year, and of course all the other fantastic merch that I have going there on Redbubble. So thanks again, Stefan. I hope that you enjoy some fabulous beverages in that Pride mug. So let's get to it. Jorge, drink me. Oh, look at this. We got finally some garnish. Someone went to the store. What is that? It's clear. Oh, just vodka and soda. Oh, I love it. Ooh, that's a citron vodka and soda. Lovely. Mwah! Put some pucker in my pecker. That didn't sound right. Well, we started this episode off with the queens congratulating Trinity for surviving her first chop of the season. No one was more relieved than TKB herself, let me tell you. Then everyone's attention turned to that box to see who voted for who. Not surprisingly, it was a landslide for Serena Cha-Cha-Cha, I'm sorry to say. The only vote in that box for Trinity was obviously made by Miss Cha-Cha herself. Of course, Trinity thanked the other queens for believing in her. Well, everyone but Yara Sofia, who it seems was the only other queen to vote for Trinity. Of course, Yara said it wasn't personal, but Trinity interrupted her by saying that she took it personally. Well, that shut the room up for half a second, until Trinity said she was kidding. But seriously, there was a moment there where you could tell the other queens were afraid that some tables were going to be flipped. Seriously. But Trinity psyched them all out by saying that it was just part of the game, and she didn't take it personally. Or did she? Who can tell with Miss K. Bonet? But they hugged it out and, well, then got out of drag. The next day in the workroom, the queens finally bid Serena a fond farewell, but they didn't spend much time doing that because there were bigger questions at hand. Like, now that they were all out of drag, who was the trade of the season? Well, if we're all voting, I'm throwing my 2 cents at Scarlett and Trinity, as long as they don't talk too much. Also, possibly Jan, now that she's let her boy brows grow in. Or at least draws them on a little more natural. But then she started acting like Jan, so me and Jiggly shared an eye roll. Eureka said it was her. No one seconded that emotion. In fact, Akira went so far as to say there was no trade this season. Who are they going to flirt with? Trinity wanted to know what their definition of trade was. Akira said trade is a masculine-looking gay guy, and Eureka added who is attractive enough to have sex with. My question is there a time constraint? Because after too long on a desert island, even wet sand starts to look good. Do you know what I mean? Jiggly went one further and added that he had to have a touch of danger in him to be trade. Well, Eureka said that was Trinity to her. But Silky shot that down because, well, Trinity was wearing a brooch. She acts like no one ever got stabbed by a brooch. It could happen. Thank God Rue's video message got their heads back in the game. This week's message was about flowers and balls and queens coming through, but to tell the truth, I think the queens were still thinking about trade too much to try and decipher it. Well, they didn't have to think about it for long because there was Ru with this week's Maxi Challenge. She was throwing a ball, a blue ball to be precise. The queens had to present 3 looks on the runway. Category 1, Blue Betta Work, where the queens would have to deliver some blue-collar realness. Category 2 was Blue Jean Baby, where the queens would have to take denim to the next level. And finally, the third category was Blue Ball Bonanza. The queens would have to create their own look from scratch using blue-hued unconventional materials provided. I like these challenges myself. It was all first come, first grab in the workroom as the queens acted like they were shopping for big screen TVs on Black Friday. This got ugly real fast, probably because no one was hot enough to be this season's trade. Eureka was just going to make do with what she grabbed because this wasn't going to be her first time behind a sewing machine. I'm so serious. Because of what she'd made for the ball on season 12, Jan thought she could just build on that and make a truer version of what she had envisioned then. Based on that concept, Scarlett said she should steer clear of anything she did on season 12. I thought that was sound advice, although I don't remember hating Jan's unconventional material look for the ball. I mean, it was made out of balls, so. Jiggly was stressing before this challenge even got started, which I think is right for the creator of Baked Potato Couture. Even though the 2 looks Jiggly created on season 4 landed her in the bottom, she plays a designer on TV, so you'd think she'd have picked up a skill or 2 in the interim. Apparently, she's not a method actress. Raja was in her element. She's not just a sewer. She's a good sewer, but unconventional materials seem to be her Achilles heel. Remember that We Are Groot burlap pants number she made on season 11? No? Well, there it is. She went home that episode, so you know she was feeling her nerves, seriously. Yara was feeling all kinds of confident, not just because she won the first challenge, but, well, she can sew, and she won her design challenge on season 3. Although, as Scarlett pointed out, she was the only queen who still hadn't started making an outfit. Actually, Yara said she was waiting for everyone else to finish their look so she could see what materials would be available to her. Not only did she say she could make a look in 20 minutes, she didn't even have to look at the sewing machine while she did it. Well, what else would she be looking at? It's not like there's trade in that workroom. That's when Ru dropped in to check on the queen's progress. Her first visit was with Eureka. Ru brought up how close she got to the crown the last time she was on Drag Race. Not that Eureka's bitter. She's way more famous now than if she'd won the stinking crown. Aquaria ho? Just saying. Eureka admitted to Ru that she's more of a crafter than a sewer, but that she was feeling confident about what she was getting herself up into. Famous last words, I'm just saying. Jiggly was next. It's been 8 long years since she was last on the Race of Drags, and Ru and her chatted about how Jiggly had wished she'd addressed a few of her issues before coming on the show. But Ru mentioned she noticed a maturity about Jiggly that wasn't there on season 4. Jiggly also talked about how her life has changed since then, and now she's a regular on the hit series Pose. Ironically, playing a designer, which of course reminded Ru about Jiggly's last attempt at sewing on Drag Race. Fingerdoo's crossed, history doesn't repeat itself for Jiggly. I'm just saying. I'm still worried. Raja was next, and it looked like she'd been using her time wisely because, well, she already seemed to have a blue fantasy well on its way to realization. But Ru didn't want to talk about that. She wanted to talk about Raja being a tad mouthy on season 11. She had an opinion, but I have to say, it warmed my heart to hear Raja admit that she let her insecurities get the better of her, and she had to go home and think about what she had done and get to the root of the issues she was dealing with, because I really like Raja, even though she didn't make it easy. I'm so serious. Fingerdoo's crossed that she's got a handle on it now. Seriously. And that was all the queens we got to see visit with Ru, because suddenly it was Elimination Day. The queens were obviously focused on the task at hand. Jan asked Yara how she was feeling about her looks for the most part. Yara seemed confident, but she admitted that she was hiding her finished look until the last minute. Jan didn't seem convinced. And she wasn't the only one. Eureka and Pandora weren't buying it either. But although they thought Yara was a bubble off center, Eureka did point out that she's skilled with the needle and could end up surprising them all. It could happen. While some of the other queens were starting their makeup, Silky was still sewing away on her outfit. Jiggly seemed to come to terms with the fact that she's not a designer. She only plays one on TV, but she was proud of the slutty party dress she said she made. Although Ginger felt it looked more like Saint-Tropez than slutty. And apparently on Drag Race, Saint-Tropez is a big mistake. And then Raja went and ruined the happy mood by bringing up the voting. Again. How were they going to do it? Were they all going to take in the same factors? Well, Trinity said they could take a look around the room and be able to decide from there. The other queens loved hearing that. Akira took that to mean that Trinity could already just tell by looking around the room who was going home. How else would you take that? All that shade aside, Ginger thought that because they were the ones given that decision, that they should make it with integrity. Makes me think she was feeling confident with her looks anyway, I'm just saying. Raja wanted some clarity on what everyone meant by integrity. For the most part, everyone agreed that integrity meant a decision they could stand behind and not regret later. Well, Jiggly, on the other hand, wanted to know if friendships and relationships would come into play. Her idea that someone voting to keep a friend in just because of how badly she wants to stay is absolutely the opposite of integrity. Look it up, Jiggly! Clearly, someone isn't feeling confident about her slutty party dress. Well, confident or not, it was time for the runway. Ru looked glamorous in her pleated mylar fantasy. Minus the feathers this time, thank God. Michelle looked beautiful and comfy in her blue zip-up. Carson looked bodacious in his glittery blue denim shirt, and making her debut on the judges panel was the legendary Big Frida, looking all kinds of glamorous. Seriously, I want that wig. Category is Blue Betta Work. Raja was first, and she was serving all kinds of project manager realness. I think the clipboard is why I gave her a Fingerdoo. Seriously. Kylie Sonique Love's handy ma'am was more of a glamour puss with those lame gloves, so even though I thought she looked fantastic, I had to give this look a Fingerdoo. It's about the category. The best part of Eureka's crossing guard was her glittery whistle purse, so you know I gave her a Fingerdoo. Strut away, Eureka! Seriously. I have no idea what Jen was thinking with this outfit. She looked more like a bondage mouse than a tire. Well, anything. I get that they were tires, but for what? A go-kart? Don't get me wrong, she looked fantastic, but her look wasn't very clear, so Fingerdoo for Jan. I could see where Jiggly was going with her look, but it wasn't blue collar. It was cute, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the category, so Fingerdoo for Jiggly. I still have no idea what Silky was supposed to be. Since when do milkmen wear red? When there was such a thing as milkmen, they wore white. And, well, they blended their makeup better, no offense. So, Fingerdoo for Silky. OMG, I really love Scarlett's look. I thought it was so clever and totally fashion. But, again, it wasn't blue collar, so I hate that I had to give her a Fingerdoo. Don't these queens know how to dress for a ball? Seriously. Akira's pipe welder was cute once I realized that's what she was supposed to be, but it wasn't blue collar either, so another Fingerdoo. These queens are lucky I'm not actually there judging. Seriously. I'm a hard ass. Thank God for Pandora Box. This is as fashion as blue collar should get, and her sparkly reveal stayed true to the category and was totally worthy of a Fingerdoo. And yes, sparkly reveal was my drag queen name in high school. I hated Yara's runway, mostly because I was over these tits she keeps wearing. Is she going to wear them for the rest of the season? Because I can't. I just can't. I was also over the lack of blue collarness in this look, so I had to give her a Fingerdoo. Ginger's play on a Mario Brothers plumber was so cute, I had to give it a Fingerdoo. I just couldn't help myself. But why do all these queens look so white in the middle of their faces? Am I the only one seeing it? I really like Trinity's crossing guard. I've seen this person directing traffic near almost every school I've ever walked past. Plus, I loved her message on the back of the sign. Fingerdoo for Trinity. Category 2 is Blue Jean Baby. I just loved Raja's smooth criminal denim look. She was all kinds of fashion and deserving of a Fingerdoo. My only critique was that her hat wasn't made of denim, but I wasn't mad at it. I thought Kylie looked gorgeous, but I wished her look had more denim in it. I get that she was channeling some Britney Spears realness, but that fuzzy hat and that handkerchief top left me wondering where the denim was. So I had to give her a Fingerdoo. I didn't want to. Eureka's denim overcoat and onesie was stunning, so I had no trouble giving her a Fingerdoo. Seriously. Jan's denim jumpsuit was gorgeous. It reminded me of Jimbo's denim look from Drag Race Canada, so of course I gave it a Fingerdoo. Although it looked like she'd already had a Fingerdoo from that wedgie those pants were giving her. Seriously. Did that look painful to you? Jiggly's look was far too simple for this category. Plus, I didn't think her palazzo pants fit her very well, so I had to give her a Fingerdoo. I hated Silky's denim look because the focus was on all that red shimmy beadwork. This look did nothing to take denim to the next level, although what it did to those chaps is seriously questionable. Just me? Scarlett's runway was cute on her, but I didn't really like it. What is it with her and big ugly hats? Seriously, that's another Fingerdoo for Scarlett, I'm sorry to say. I just about died when I saw Akira's denim look. At first I thought, where's the denim? And then I got a good look at it. This look was stunning and totally elevated denim, so I had no trouble giving her a Fingerdoo. Seriously. The best part of Pandora's runway was that it was actually made of denim, but why anyone would want to do that to denim is beyond me. Still, I gave her a Fingerdoo. The worst part of Yara Sophia's outfit was that it wasn't made of denim. It was printed lycra, so regardless how it looked, it was a total Fingerdoo for me. Sorry about it. I loved Ginger's denim jumpsuit right down to the tips of her denim boots, although I suspected it was a stretch denim, but still denim enough for a Fingerdoo, I'm so serious. I have no idea what Trinity was thinking when she came up with this look, but I'm sure I had a flashback while I was looking at it. It's probably why I gave her a Fingerdoo as well. What? Category 3 was Blue Ball Bonanza. Not like that. I just about died when I saw Raja's runway. I can't believe that she made that. It was gorgeous and fit her like a glove, so of course, I gave her a Fingerdoo. Kylie's runway was another winner, and in my opinion, her best outfit of the night, so I gave her a Fingerdoo too. Here's to Kylie, seriously. Eureka is such a liar. Crafty my padded butt. That queen is a seamstress. Seriously. She even made a little purse. Fingerdoo for Eureka. She lied. Jan's runway was a little too busy for me, and I wish her wig and collar hadn't been both the same color, but it wasn't the worst outfit on that runway, so I gave her a Fingerdoo. Finally. I absolutely hated Jiggly's look. What was with all those streamers? And the ribbons? I think it would have looked better if she'd kept it plain, but she didn't, so I gave her a Fingerdoo. She really can't sew. I still have no idea what the hell was going on with Silky's runway, but I'm super impressed that she made a pair of pants that fit her. Not impressed enough to give her a Fingerdoo, but still. I think all the queens on that runway should take a note, not only from Raja, but Miss Scarlet Envy as well. This is what a runway is all about. I can't believe she made that dress either. 10 Fingerdoos across the board for Miss Envy. I'm envious of that dress, I'll tell you what. I'm sorry that Akira had to follow Scarlett's runway because I wasn't very impressed by her dress. It didn't look that bad, but it didn't look that good either. Still, I gave her a Fingerdoo too. I wasn't a fan of Pandora Box's runway for this category. I felt all those blue ribbons were too busy and, well, she lost her shape in it, so I had to give her a Fingerdoo. They can't all be winners. Jiggly should take a note. This is how you put streamers on a dress. As cheap as all the materials were that went into Yara's look, I was impressed with how good it looked. Fingerdoo for Yara. Seriously. The only thing I didn't like about Ginger's runway was her wig. That ponytail should have been on the top of her head because it was too low and it made her head look flat. It threw all her proportions off, if you ask me, but I still gave her coat a Fingerdoo. I have to admit, I was impressed with Trinity K. Bonet's runway. This dress is nicer than what she entered into the workroom in. This was elegant, and her leaving her shoe on the runway as she Cinderella'd her way out of there was charming. Fingerdoo for Trinity, seriously. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Right away, Ru announced that Silky, Jan, Scarlett, Pandora, Ginger, and Trinity were all safe, so they frigged off to the Untucked Lounge, or, as Jan started calling it, Jan Tucked. I get it. She's a safe queen. But they're all safe queens. That's the point, Jan. Next time, use more than a hot glue gun, maybe. Yeah, like there'll be a next time. Silky praised Trinity for her Cinderella fantasy, as well she should. Trinity looked gorgeous. So did Scarlett, though no one mentioned it. What they did mention was who they thought was in the top. Eureka was a contender for sure, as was Raja. Trinity was sinking back into her old headspace because she interpreted their being safe as their looks were cute. She thought everyone should be able to hear what the judges thought because, as she said, this is a school of learning for her. Well, I have one thing to say about that. This is not a school of learning. It's All-Stars. You should already have learned some things at this level. Seriously, Trinity. As Pandora said, if they didn't like their looks, they'd have been in the bottom. Well said, Pandora. She's obviously learned things. And then things took an awkward turn between Trinity and Scarlett. After Pandora said they'd be in the bottom if the judges didn't like their looks, Trinity said, "You think so?" To which Scarlett responded, "Well, that's how it works." Well, Trinity didn't like that. She thought Scarlett was being shady, so she told Scarlett to go ahead and teach her about being an all-star. Now that was shady. Silky changed the subject by saying she thought Jiggly was going to be in the bottom, which of course worried Ginger because since she and Jiggly are friends, Ginger was feeling the pressure that Jiggly put on herself to come back. The queens also felt that Yara was going to be in the bottom too, especially since her blue jean baby look was spandex. As I suspected, even though we only saw Ru's workroom visit with Eureka, Raja, and Jiggly, she clearly had visited with the rest of the queens because Ginger brought up Jan's visit with Ru. Apparently, Jan and Ru talked about the death of Jan's grandfather due to COVID and how supportive he'd been of Jan's career and that she owed it to him to have fun this time around. Well, I for one hope that she does. Here's to Jan. Have fun, girl. Trinity changed the subject by asking how everyone was going to vote. She was going to go on track record because even though she was fangirling over being in the same room as some of these queens, she was also looking at her competition and she was going to pay attention to who hit the nail on the head by thinking about the challenges and who was just happy that they got that All-Stars call. I thought that was a very good point. Here's to Trinity. Seriously. And then Trinity went one step further for me and apologized to Scarlett for getting snappy with her. So here's to Miss K. Bonet again. And here's to Scarlett for letting her have that moment because, as she said, they're all in a pressure cooker. Here's to Scarlett. Back on the main stage, it was time for the judges' critiques. First up, Raja O'Hara, who clearly wowed the judges with fabulous runways. Michelle loved her hard hat on top of her beehive for the blue collar look. So did Ru. Hats on wigs! Carson loved the layers in her blue jean baby look, and Miss Frida said it all when she called Raja's final runway the Black Judy Jetson. As Ru said, it was absolutely stunning. Here's to Raja. Kylie was next. The judges didn't have any of the issues I had where her runway was concerned, thank goodness. Carson thought her construction blue collar look was the strongest in the category, and Big Frida gagged for her bandana look. Michelle, like me, is partial to stars because, well, she's got them tattooed on herself too, so she loved her final runway look the most. Up next was Eureka, and she was clearly another fave of the judges. Michelle loved her crossing guard look, while Carson was partial to her dark blue jean baby runway. But Miss Frida was taken aback by Eureka's final runway with its kicky skirt and little purse. Ru was very impressed that Eureka made that final look with non-stretch fabric and told her she looked like a star. Here's to Eureka. And here's to Ru, because she wasn't lying. Seriously. Jiggly was next, and clearly she was in the bottom, even though Michelle said she liked her first look. I think she said that because it was just the best of a bad bunch. Carson was not a fan of her blue jean baby look, although he did like her hair and makeup. Too bad that wasn't the challenge. As for her final runway, Michelle told her it wasn't enough, and she wasn't lying. To be honest, when a judge on Drag Race asks you what you're wearing, it's not because they want to get one for themselves, I'm just saying. Seriously. Akira was another one the judges weren't crazy about. Carson didn't know she was a welder in her first look, and Michelle thought her blue jean baby look was more in the club than on the All-Stars runway. Wow, everyone liked her final runway. At least she had one right. Lastly was Yara Sofia. Michelle had no idea she was a construction worker for the blue-collar runway. Carson was glad to see Yara had retired her boobs for the blue jean baby look, but still wasn't happy that she wasn't actually wearing denim. But they all agreed with Frida that her best look was her final runway. Seriously. Then Ru announced that this week's winner was Raja O'Hara. As well she should be. Here's to Raja again. Seriously. The bottom two girls this week were Jiggly and Yara, which I don't think was a surprise to anyone. Bless. Back in the workroom, the queens all congratulated a very emotional Raja on her first win, and she wasted no time in chatting with the two bottom queens. While Raja talked to Yara first, who was clearly not happy about being in the bottom and begging to stay in the competition, Jiggly cried a big old river to the rest of the queens as to why she was upset at failing another sewing challenge. Personally, she knew this challenge was coming, so why didn't she prepare for it more? I feel like Jiggly's one of those queens Trinity was talking about when she said they were just happy to get that All-Stars call. If she were so hell-bent on them seeing this new queen she's become, she really should have tried harder, no offense. But even the looks she brought for the other two runways weren't up to the standards of the other queens. Just saying. Yara, on the other hand, got very emotional with the other queens because she didn't want to beg to stay in the game. Trinity wasn't buying it. At first, I thought it was because Yara had voted her off last week, but Trinity made some good points. The biggest being that she wasted all that time in the workroom before actually putting her look together. In an hour. Yeah, I'd be pissed off at that too. Still, it looked fantastic. All the other queens were feeling the pressure as they cast their votes. While that was going on, Jiggly had a meltdown in the parking lot. She was beyond emotional at the prospect of not being able to fight for her place in the competition. That it was down to someone else lip-syncing and the queens voting one way or another. I have to say, I understand how she was feeling, but I have no sympathy for Jiggly. This is All-Stars. She knew all this was coming. Just showing up and looking cute is not enough. It's never enough. She's got to take ownership of that. Seriously. Back on the main stage, it was revealed that this week's lip-sync assassin was the Queen of the North, Brooklyn Heights. Now, this was a lip-sync. Both these queens turned it out to one of my fave songs, Janet Jackson's Miss You Much. There was splits, dips, hairography. It was a feast for the eyes, and when it was all over, Ru announced it was a tie, and rightly so. But the best news of all was that Raja had won a cash tip of $20,000. Good for Raja. Ka-ching, girl. And because it was a tie, the queens would both be revealing their lipsticks. Raja chose Jiggly Caliente, and Brooklyn revealed that the cast had chosen Jiggly as well. Back in the workroom, Jiggly was interrupted from her packing by Ru's video message that there was still a game within the game. So, this wasn't the last we'd be seeing of Miss Caliente. So, what do you think? Did the right queen go home? Personally, I wish that Jiggly had shown she wanted to be there instead of just saying so. From her entrance look to the runways she brought for the blue ball, there wasn't the same level of effort as the other queens. Let's hope that this teaches her that it takes more than showing up to win a contest. What about Yara? Was she just the better of two bad choices? Should she be worried about being next? What about Trinity? Is she starting to work the other queen's nerves? Because she's starting to work mine, I'm just going to say it. And then there's Jan. Do we think she's having fun yet? All we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 6 next week to see how it all plays out. And then, when you're done, you come on back and you see me, so you and I can compare notes. Now, don't forget to like this video by giving it a thumbs up. If you did, it really helps me to get my videos seen by more people if you do, so don't be shy. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, now's your chance. Go on. It's free. Until next week, miss me. Mwah. Seriously. I wish Trinity would just pick an emotion. She's either full of doubt or she just says the most profound, logical things. She was totally talking about Jiggly when she was talking about queens who were happy to get the call. It really clearly is more important to Jiggly that she's cute than trying hard. I'll tell you, it was a bit of a coin toss for me between her and Yara. I just think Yara is in another TV competition. I don't think she's on Drag Race All-Star 6. I think she's on something else. Who's got the darkest contour? Maybe that's the show she's on. I don't know. I hope that Scarlett steps it up somehow, because I can't believe she wasn't in the top this week. I can't believe she wasn't in the top. In that dress? Sweet Marie. What do these queens have to do? Light each other on fire? I'll ask you. Brooklyn looked good, didn't she? Oh. Well, mind you, any costume that a dancing queen wears with all those strings and ties, I keep thinking they're going to whip out one of their eyes. Oh! Of course, she'd look good in an eye patch. She'd look good in anything. I hate her.